Current Prime Minister Mark Carney has unveiled a comprehensive housing strategy aimed at addressing Canada's housing crisis while less than a month away from Election Day. Now, their plan calls for significantly increasing the construction of affordable homes. Central to this plan is the establishment of Build Canada Homes, or the BCH, a federal entity tasked with addressing the housing crisis. In this video, I'll go over their entire plan on how they plan to accomplish this. I'm not going to cover the other candidates' policies in this video or do any kind of comparison. This is just to provide viewers with the Carney government's plans on housing. Also, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, whether you think this will address the ongoing housing issue in Canada. Here are the key components of Carney's housing plan. Number one, they plan to double housing construction.
It's time to build. We need to get housing supply up. In fact, we need to double housing supply on an annual basis.
This initiative aims to double the pace of housing construction to 500,000 homes annually by reducing bureaucratic hurdles and lowering taxes. Now, according to the CMHC, or the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, we need 3.5 million homes by 2030 to make housing affordable. And in 2024, Canada recorded approximately 245,000 housing starts, which reflects a modest 2% increase from the previous year. Now, this figure obviously falls significantly short of the federal government's ambitious goal to double housing construction to 500,000 units annually. So achieving this target would require a substantial and sustained increase in housing starts across the country. Canada's 6 largest cities saw a combined 3% year-over-year decrease from 2023, driven by lower starts levels in Vancouver, Toronto, and Ottawa, where multi-unit starts fell due to weak pre-construction condominium sales. Now, if you've watched my channel, then you know I talk about this all the time, that weak pre-construction sales today means tight supply in the future. Now, Calgary, Edmonton, and Montreal saw higher starts activity in 2024, particularly in the multi-unit segment, driven mostly by high rental starts. Next, they want to eliminate GST for first-time homebuyers. Carney has pledged to remove the GST on all new and substantially renovated homes priced under $1 million for first-time buyers, potentially saving Canadians, according to them, up to $50,000 per purchase. Now, in Canada, the purchase of a new or substantially renovated home is subject to the GST, which is at 5%. And in provinces like Ontario, this is combined with the provincial component to form the HST, which is at 13%. Now, currently, the federal government offers GST-HST new housing rebate. This rebate allows eligible purchasers to recover a portion of the GST, or the federal portion of the HST, paid on new or substantially renovated homes intended as their primary place of residence. Specifically, the rebate covers 36% of the GST paid, up to a maximum of $6,300. And in Ontario, where the tax is much higher due to higher home prices, buyers receive a rebate of 75% of the provincial portion of the HST, up to a maximum of $24,000. So the Carney government aims to wipe out the GST completely for first-time homebuyers on new build homes priced up to $1 million. And like I said, according to them, they're hoping this saves them up to $50,000 of the purchase price. So instead of getting the GST-HST back in the form of a rebate, their plan is to entirely wipe off the GST from the purchase price. Next, they want to provide low-cost financing to home builders. Mark Carney-led Liberal government will create a new entity called the Build Canada Homes, and BCH will offer $10 billion in low-cost financing and capital to affordable home builders, including $4 billion in long-term fixed-rate financing and $6 billion for rapid construction of deeply affordable and supportive housing, with $2 billion allocated specifically for student and seniors housing. Now, they'll also provide financing to Canadian prefabricated home builders aimed to cut construction and delivery times compared to traditionally built homes that can take a lot longer. These homes are built off-site in a factory and then transported to site for assembly. Now, although prefab homes sound like the solution that's needed, many prefab companies have found it difficult to scale up due to the cost of buying things in bulk. Also, many homeowners want their homes to stand out, and with prefab homes having pre-approved designs, it'll make any modifications or specifications and fresh permissions to cause construction times to go up significantly. Next up, they plan to revive tax incentives. The plan proposes reintroducing the multi-unit rental building tax incentive, or the MURB program, which previously facilitated the creation of nearly 200,000 rental units over the course of 7 years. The multi-unit residential building, or MURB program, was a Canadian federal tax incentive introduced in the 1970s to stimulate the construction of a rental housing amid growing housing shortage. This initiative allowed investors to deduct capital cost allowance losses from other income for taxation purposes, effectively reducing their taxable income and encouraging investment in rental property development. Now, from the time it started to 1981, the MURB program contributed to the start of approximately 195,000 rental units across the country, significantly boosting the supply of rental housing during that period. The program attracted a diverse group of investors, including professionals and high income individuals that are seeking tax shelters. So developers would initiate MURB projects and seek investors to purchase units, allowing development costs and rental losses to be deducted from taxable income. Now, critics have argued that the MURB program has led to inflated property values and rents, as the tax incentives encouraged investment decisions driven more by the tax benefits rather than by market fundamentals. Some projects under the program also suffered from substandard construction due to a lack of oversight, leading to issues with build quality and tenant satisfaction. Now, the program was seen as a temporary measure that did not address the underlying structural issues in the rental housing market, such as affordable and long term supply. Now, in response to Canada's ongoing housing affordability crisis, Prime Minister Carney has proposed reviving the tax incentives similar to the MURB program, and this initiative aims to stimulate the construction of rental housing by providing tax benefits to investors and developers, just like the program did back in the 70s. Next up, they want to streamline development processes. Now, Carney intends to work with provinces and municipalities to lower development fees, lift outdated zoning restrictions, and cut red tape to expedite the housing development. See, in Canada, the housing development process is often hindered by bureaucratic obstacles and restrictive zoning laws that people refer to as red tape. So, the so called red tape involves the complex and time consuming approval processes that developers must navigate before starting construction. These procedures can involve extensive paperwork, multiple levels of government approvals, prolonged timelines, all of which can slow down the pace of housing development. Now, zoning laws dictate how land can be used and what type of structures can be built in specific areas. And many Canadian cities have zoning regulations that predominantly favor single family homes, limiting the ability to develop higher density housing options such as duplexes, triplexes, and apartment complexes. Now, some jurisdictions are revisiting their zoning policies. For example, in 2023, Toronto approved new zoning laws to accommodate up to 4 multiplexes in neighborhoods across the city and eliminated development charges to these units. Now, there is something that the Liberal government did introduce to tackle this problem in the past called the Housing Accelerator Fund. This $4 billion initiative was introduced to support municipal efforts in speeding up housing development. This fund provided financial incentives for cities to reduce barriers such as the lengthy approval times, restrictive zoning laws. The goal was to incentivize municipalities to implement reforms that would speed up the approval process and essentially build more homes faster. And although the program seems great on paper, it lacks transparency on how exactly the money is being spent, therefore lacking accountability. The housing plan also promises to cut municipal development charges in half for multi unit residential housing and work with provinces and territories to make up the lost revenue for municipalities for a period of 5 years. So, how exactly will the government make up for this lost revenue? Well, my guess is it's going to come from our taxes. And that wraps up the key components of Prime Minister Mark Carney's housing plan. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this is going to address the housing crisis? And also let me know if you'd like me to cover other candidates' housing plans. And of course, if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.